With the exception of Un Chant d'Amour, this series so far has covered only American cinema. So by now you might be wondering, did other countries produce any gay shorts in that era? Well, imagine the Clash's London Calling playing over a drone shot of Buckingham Palace right now. Because we are checking out a rare surviving British gay short from the not-so-swinging 60s. A film that managed to capture the fears of a whole generation.
For British citizens, it is most bad to admit that anything British is bad.
Lloyd Reckord, born in 1929 in Jamaica, emigrated to England in 1951 as part of what became known as the Windrush generation. He had some success as a stage and screen actor. In fact, he appeared in 3 of the earliest known interracial kisses shown on television, years before Star Trek.
I love you, Johnny.
I love you too, Mary. With all my black heart.
Then he tried to break into directing, and after 1963's 10 Bob in Winter, a small-scale but nonetheless groundbreaking short about the social dynamics in the black community, he got more ambitious with his sophomore effort. Dream A40 is a frank statement on homosexual guilt. Instead of fantasizing about boy meets girl, I thought, well, let's try to be honest and make an interesting statement from my own experience. I was interested in making a film that made a mark, that said something about the times we were living in.
And the fear and the guilt that gay people had, I wanted to show that.
So what times were gay men in Britain actually living in?
You could be arrested for just looking at somebody in the street, winking at them or smiling at them.
Wherever you went was liable to be raided. Whether it was a pub, or it was a private drinking club, or it was a private party.
Let's look at one particular weekend in the summer of 1952. Peter Wildeblood, a journalist for the Daily Mail, went to Lord Montagu's beach hut with 2 young RAF airmen, one of whom was his lover. Montagu's cousin Michael Pitt Rivers was there as well. Lord Montagu remembered this party as a pretty tame affair. We had some drinks, we danced, we kissed, that's all. 2 years later, it became a national scandal, when all 3 men were charged with conspiring to commit homosexual offenses. The airmen gave evidence for the prosecution in exchange for immunity, and Wildeblood's private letters to his lover were read in court during a highly publicized trial which resembled a witch hunt. He did something very few men in his position could do at the time. He publicly admitted he was homosexual.
Is your name Peter Wildeblood?
Yes.
Are you a homosexual, Mr. Wildeblood?
Yes, I am.
Wildeblood and Pitt Rivers were sentenced to 18 months in prison, Montagu to 12, under the same laws that had already punished Oscar Wilde almost 6 decades earlier. They joined the more than 1,000 men jailed each year for homosexual offenses. Many other men who were arrested during raids on gay pubs and public toilets but not convicted still had their lives ruined when their full names and street addresses were printed in the newspapers, all in the name of public safety. Far too many times an outing like this ended in suicide. Even talking about the wrong things in public was dangerous, so a lot of gay men relied on Polari, a coded slang that helped them recognize each other without being understood by everyone else.
Owner Bats, what size are your plates?
10, I think.
What about your luppers? They're size 10 too. But you play the Striller's real boner.
And yet, the verdict in the Montagu case was surprisingly unpopular, because apparently no one liked seeing members of the upper class being treated like common homosexuals. The scandal helped lead to the Wolfenden Committee, which was asked to look into homosexuality and prostitution. Wildblood testified before the committee and was the only openly gay man to do so. In 1957, it recommended that private sex between consenting adult men should no longer be a crime. The government acknowledged the report and then ignored it.
I can't help the way I am, but the law says I'm a criminal. I've been to prison 4 times.
In 1961, the popular thriller Victim had Dirk Bogarde playing a closeted married lawyer targeted by a blackmail ring. This was one of the key arguments in the Wolfenden report.
There's no doubt that a law which sends homosexuals to prison offers unlimited opportunities for blackmail.
Lesbians were also at risk, by the way. There were no laws specifically targeting them, but they could still lose everything in the court of public opinion. So this was the climate in which Reckord wrote and directed Dream A40. While everyone in the country was discussing whether love should be legal, you'd best keep your head down and hope nobody noticed you. And that is the main conflict between the two young men at the center of Dream A40, who argue about how much affection they can show in public. Just like Cam and Mitchell in that one episode of Modern Family, but without the jokes. After a credit sequence set at a swanky party, they're off on a road trip through England's countryside, probably on the A40 road from London to Wales, given the title.
We've got a long drive ahead of us tomorrow. Gotta go. Okay.
For a few minutes, we just watch the two enjoying themselves, feeding each other apples, ignoring a woman who is checking them out, and even showing some tenderness in the safety of their own car. It is really wholesome, and again I am in awe that scenes like these were shot in the mid-60s. Reckord knew exactly what he could get away with. I didn't use black actors in the main parts, though I talked to a few of them about it. The black actors I spoke to would have had a more difficult time afterwards than the white actors for playing gays. Being gay in the Caribbean is less acceptable than Britain. Though homosexuality was illegal in Britain at that time, there was no law about making a film about gays. But the mood changes when a little girl sees them holding hands. The dark-haired driver instantly becomes paranoid, and his blonde boyfriend tries to calm him down.
So what's funny?
Nothing.
A stop at a restaurant doesn't help relieve the tension.
You find that sort of thing funny, don't you?
What are you worried about? Even if the little girl saw anything she wouldn't understand, stop fretting for God's
Who's fretting? I'm leaving.
A short time later they get stopped by a policeman, and the film, which had been realistic so far, crosses over into a nightmarish dream world. They are both taken to an abandoned building, where a lot of other people, almost all of them men, are already sitting in some kind of dungeon cellar waiting room. No one is speaking, but a noose is ominously looming over everyone in one corner of the room. This feels dangerous, and even more influenced by Kafka's The Trial than The Secret of Wendell Sampson would be the next year.
I'll soon be back.
Don't leave me here alone. Where are you going?
I don't know. There must be a way out of this place.
All right.
The driver leaves his boyfriend alone to find an exit. After some searching and running through dark corridors, he finds the only way out. Just pay the fine.
Is there any way we can get out of this place?
Yes, if you pay a fine.
All right, I'll pay it.
He returns to the waiting room, but seems to be too late. There's already a pile of bodies lying in the corner, his boyfriend among them, the noose still around his neck. We don't know if they were hanged by the state, or if they took their own lives. But it doesn't really matter, the outcome is the same, and the message is clear. The driver cradles his boyfriend and is relieved to see that he's still alive. He kisses him and carries him outside. It's a kind of happy ending, but the film notably ends here and we never see them back on the road. They might have escaped this time, but the nightmare won't end. It did end though, at least a little bit. After a decade of doing nothing, the British Parliament passed the Sexual Offences Act in 1967. Gay sex was finally legal, as long as it was in private, and involved no more than 2 consenting men, both at least 21 years old. 1920, still illegal. Threesomes, still illegal. Anywhere not considered private, yeah, you guessed it, still illegal. It also just applied to England and Wales. Scotland would only follow in 1980. While the new law was still a milestone in the liberation of gay men, it also led to the police cracking down on gay pubs and public toilets even harder, and the number of prosecutions actually went up in the following years. Homosexual shame and guilt still lived on, as seen in the 1970 Bill Douglas short film Come Dancing. The film opens with a younger guy at home with a topless woman, so we expect him to be bisexual or closeted when he later responds to another man's flirting in a cafe, while the waitress is distracted by the titular entertainment show on TV. It's a very cute scene and the guys have strong chemistry. So it's all the more shocking and disappointing when the younger guy leads the man under a nearby pier and suddenly whips out a knife, hissing how much he hates gays. His victim starts laughing, which startles the attacker into retreating. We don't know if he was straight all along or if his actions were motivated by self-hate. But one thing is clear. Gay bashings like this one were all too common. The struggle was not over. Especially not for Lloyd Reckord. After his 2 very promising shorts, he discovered that the BBC was not interested in hiring a black director. In 1968, he returned to Jamaica for good and had a very successful career in theatre. During the worldwide tour of his one-man show Beyond the Blues, he also performed for the National Theatre in London in 1982. That was the year Northern Ireland finally followed the rest of the UK and made private sex between 2 consenting adult men legal, after it was forced to do so by the European Court of Human Rights. It would take until the year 2000 for the age of consent to be lowered to 16, the same as for straight couples. And the privacy restrictions were only removed 3 years later. So gay threesomes were technically illegal until 2003.
We've had a visitor.
I don't get it.
It seems we've been rolled.
What?
They call it rolling the queers.
More than a decade after that, artist Sam Ashby found an unproduced 26-page screenplay written in 1964 by Elizabeth Montagu, Lord Montagu's half-sister. It was another attempt to show that gay men deserved better than contempt and blackmail. But a lack of funding killed the project, so for half a century, the script remained tucked away in some archive.
I don't get it. With F all to go on.
There's you and me.
But for Christ's sake, man, we could be anything. Friends, I mean.
But we're not.
But why couldn't we be?
From the point of view of the police, it wouldn't make any difference.
Ashby filmed its central scene for his 2017 documentary short The Color of His Hair, mixing it with interviews and archive material.
What are we to do?
Oh, shut up for a minute, Peter, I can't think.
We must go to the police.
And if we do?
We've nothing to be ashamed of.
If we went to prison?
For that?
For that.
It shows that our stories no longer have to stay hidden, and Dream A40's hopeful ending can come true. The limited reform of 1967 was only just the beginning. In 1970, the Gay Liberation Front was founded, and in 1972, The first UK Gay Pride March was held in London. Activists took to the streets and homosexuality became visible again, not just as a courtroom scandal, but as part of normal daily life. The laws that tried to keep gay men afraid and isolated had the opposite effect. They forced us to unite and build a tight-knit community. Thank you for watching. Check out the links in the video description and please like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Next time we'll check out some gay shorts in languages I can pronounce even less than English, so that might be fun.